Four basic ukes. Uke means receive, so we say receiver techniques, and these tend to be done every lesson as part of your standard training, because these things need training frequently. So uke receivers, we've got the age uke, rising receiver, soto uke means outside receiver, uchi uke, inside receiver, and the one we call gidan barai, but could just as easily be called gidan uke. When we're doing these techniques, age uke, we start with a hand up here, and we're pulling that hand down and turning it into a fist at the hip, and the other hand's going up, covering the centre line, and then you twist at the top. From the front there, it should look like the elbow and the temple are in line. Palm is showing to the front, but no fingernails, as we've got a tight fist, and the wrist is straight as you look at it from this angle. You see it's out there in front of the head. There's no point putting it back here. There's no point in resting it on your head. There's no point in it being lower than your forehead. It needs to go up there. Soto uke, the outside receiver, we've got a hand out in front of us, and that's being drawn directly back to the hip, and the circling soto uke hand, which goes out the same height as the shoulder. Appreciate that with a camera angle like that, it might look like it's up a bit higher, but it's the same height as the shoulder, and you've got this 45-degree angle off the horizontal and off the vertical, because it's a 90-degree angle that's being balanced on the point. That should also leave it 1-2 fist widths, fist lengths between your hip and your elbow. And these anatomical measurements, of course, help us to do this no matter what size or shape you are. Uchi uke, inside receiver, tucks underneath and comes around to sit in front of your shoulder. So that again is a 90-degree angle balanced on the point, or 45 degrees off of vertical and horizontal, whichever way you want to look at it. Now all of the ukewaza require a movement of the body as well. So if we're just practicing with our arms, we're not getting the twist of the hips that's required when we practice these techniques with a partner, or any other way really. They always require this hip twist. So once we do it standing up, that tells us one thing. But as soon as you put a foot in front, so I've got my left foot in front at the moment, we need to arrange where the rotation takes place. So standing up like this, it's quite natural for people to twist around a central rotation, a central pole. But once I've put my left foot in front again, once I create this door hinge here, then the body is twisting away from the front hip. Now that means that the rotation point is now over here and not in the middle. I'm not pushing one hip forwards and one hip back, but instead swinging the body away from the front hip, the front angle. So with an age uke, that hand's up, the body's square, we're pushing up through the centre and then twisting so that the hand and the hip are moving away from each other. With soto uke, we're drawing back and the hand and the hip are kind of following the same course in a way. With uchi uke, we're twisting and the hand and the hip are moving away from each other. And with gidan barai, we're getting the twist here as well. Again, moving away, the hands going out, the hips coming back. So these things, it's a simple enough thing to do, it just requires a little bit of coordination, which is why we train it every lesson. Now, as soon as we add a step in, they become a little bit more difficult. Before we talk about that though, I need to make sure that people understand that the hands spin, that there is a rotation, that the hand spins to reach its last position. The hand spins. So it doesn't just come out like this with the whole forearm moving as one. There's a rotation there, and in class we can show you exactly how you can use that spin to create an effect on an opponent. Okay, so getting back to the step, Aki-uke, Uchi-uke, Gidambarai, they all use the C-shaped step to launch the technique. So in some ways, what I just said about the hip moving away, that's one way of practicing it. Another way of practicing it would be to say that this hip stays and the other one pushes forwards. And if we're in motion, we certainly don't want to get to the end and then be moving the hip. But if I've got a static stance, I might well be set and pull. So what we're on about really is that whenever we're doing the ukes, we want to see your belt move. It shouldn't be that your belt stays and you move your arms. It's just going to be arm strength then. And we can all do with adding our body strength and our leg strength into an arm technique. So the arm needs to move, but the hip, the body is moving with it. And that's going to create some belt movement. So as an instructor, I'm watching the belt to see if the belt twists, to see if the movement maybe even originates at the belt level. We talk about the movement of the hip, but we also talk about movement of the hara, whatever kind of fits the situation that we're talking about. So the last one that I wanted to cover was that the soto uke might actually be a little bit more difficult than some people think, because there's that inside to outside step, while the hand is going outside to inside. So there's a weird bit of coordination there where the foot's going out but the hand's coming in. I don't really know if people get that until they've been very busy with it and been doing it for a good long while. But these things are kind of working opposite each other. So an inside C-shaped step, while the hand comes across, you know, that's a bit tricky. We can draw a square, and then as we come forwards, the foot's going out, the hand's coming in, and that makes it a slightly more complex thing to do. A lot of people kind of absent-mindedly link their hand and their foot so that they both swing in. We don't want to do that. So there's the warning to not do that, and keep those things in mind while we're practicing, because that's the very basic, fundamental movements that we all are going to do just about every lesson, and we need to make sure that the detail is there too.